Hello, everyone. So my three big takeaways from this session would have to be the training for everyone around the person using the AAC device, so they kind of know the drawbacks and how kind of the process works for the devices, so they're aware of what's going on when a person's using it. This fact of like this great independence that can be gained through these devices, and the one statement that was in the video, the Pro Logo to Go video, the mom made a comment about how the boy is um, no longer what other people are constructing him to be. So he's becoming his own person. He's not just like people aren't projecting what they want onto him. He's able to, voice what he wants. So I'll start with the training part of it. I think that this is really a good thing to have. So if in my future classroom, if there is anyone who is using an AAC device, I would definitely then make others aware of how this device works, the functions of it, any drawbacks that there could be in using this means of communication. I said this in my synthesis post, but a lot of misunderstandings and problems come from just having that lack of knowledge. So if people around the student is aware, they're more likely to incorporate the student into kind of the social folds, because they'll understand where the student is coming from. They won't be scared to interact with the student if they're using a device they're not familiar with to talk. So I think this really goes towards helping build these social connections in the classroom, which the article talks about pretty extensively. I mean, they even give you some suggestions of how you can incorporate this training into your classroom, which I thought was really interesting. I think it goes along with this whole theme of helping the student find their voice. If people aren't aware of, how this person is communicating, they're not going to create as much of a supportive environment. So they might not find their true voice, they might just kind of hold it back and not really participate, even though they have this device that does help them, that does work. Another one is this independence. In all of the videos, you see, in the Dynavox one, the boy was able to share his knowledge. You're like, oh, he's such a talker, he likes to tell the stories, he can write in full paragraphs. Whereas before, he really didn't have his voice. I don't know, the PEX video didn't work for me, so I can't really talk about that one. In the Pro Logo to Go, he was able to be like, I want pizza. And Mom's like, no, we're having steak. And he's like, no, but I want pizza. And she's like, no, we're having steak. And he's like, no, I want pizza. And I think this is great because he's able to, she's like, oh, before he used to be such quiet, like a quiet kid. He kind of went along with what people were telling him, just wanted to please everyone. And now he's like, no, this is what I want. And I think that's the greatest thing. I mean, obviously, you can't get what you want all the time, but I think this is a great start that he's able to now voice and have the sense of independence and have this, this voice that's separate from what people were kind of projecting onto him. And in the Xbox Connect video, they're talking about how you can use like these kinesthetic activities, getting the kids engaged into the material, and I think that these AAC devices can definitely help do with that. And I think any chance for students to have this opportunity to engage in the materials. So if I have a student in my classroom that needs to use a AAC device, I would, I'd go to the training, I'd help train the kids around, like in the classroom, so they're aware of how to communicate with the student, because, this participation is key to learning. If you're not participating in some form, then you're not really sure if the student is getting what you're trying, to teach. So you need to have this active participation. So by using the different devices, by advocating for your students to get the devices that they need to help. As long as you, like it talks about in the video, like, okay, you have these specific learning targets and objectives in mind, and they said they followed like the, the kind of principles of UDL, where you use technologies that will benefit your classroom but won't make you lose sight of the real curriculum, of the real goals. And then this third big takeaway for me was the sense of, before a student would have these AAC devices, they were kind of just, there. People were projecting what they wanted onto these students. And I think that was just it was a really eye-opening statement for me, because I never would have thought of it that way. Whereas now these kids have their voice and they can communicate and be like, no, I want to do this, or the boy it was the adapted iPod video, he was able to say he wanted to go get a coffee with his mom, and before by using his cheek. And before that, he probably wasn't able to communicate that, so it was kind of like, oh, well, do you want to do that? Yeah, sure, I guess, yes. But so, this kind of ties in with independence, but, they have their own identities now. They're not just, again, like I said, they're not just there. So I think that in my classroom, I would definitely encourage this growth, this personal growth, so students can find their true voice and discover what they would like to do, and what they like and their opinions on things, rather than just like, okay, I'm doing this. So kind of finding a way to have an interactive environment with these devices in mind, I think you can really create a supportive classroom environment, and I think that's the most important factor, because if you don't have the support in the classroom, you don't have the support at home, the student's less likely to use the AAC device, or at least sufficiently use the AAC device to be less likely to participate. So if you create this environment, you teach those around in the classroom how to use it, I think you can definitely foster this environment. Environment is like, I don't know, 80% of what you have to do in a classroom. If the environment's not comfortable for students, regardless of what you're teaching, if you're doing, classes with students with disabilities, if you're teaching, a gen ed subject, if you don't have this comfortable environment, then it's kind of pointless what you're teaching, because people will learn some things, but they're less likely to internalize what you are teaching them if they're not comfortable and worried about what others are going to think about them. So I think all these points kind of just go into one, kind of big thing around classroom environment, at least for me. And that's what I got out of this week by watching the different videos about the different AAC devices and reading the article. So I will see you all next time. Have a good week. Bye.